Welcome to the Renegade Insurance Podcast, a podcast dedicated to agency owners, insurance agents to help you grow your business and be more successful. Every episode, we will bring you a different interview with more information about carriers, contacts, and products to help you every day in your insurance business, to help you with clients and to grow your company successfully. I am super excited today. I get to interview the Executive Director, Jonathan Hollander, with People's Trust Insurance. We're going to talk about the history of People's Trust. We're going to talk about current trends. We're going to talk about future trends, how People's Trust has expanded their product line. We're going to talk about so much more. Jonathan, welcome to the Renegade Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yay.
I appreciate the invite.
Yes. So we are here live in studio. I'm excited because I love doing the in-person. I think the energy is just so much better when you're doing a podcast interview. So thank you for your time this morning.
Long trip here. Long trip. It was an arduous journey.
Yes.
Really. It took a while to get here. Had to get up very early this morning in order to be here. It's a long way from my house in Boca to this recording studio in Boca.
Yes. Well, I do appreciate it. So let's first start off because, we kind of talked about this before the show. We don't necessarily start our, childhood careers thinking that we're going to be in insurance industry, right? But you didn't start in insurance either. So I would love for you to tell our agents, your background, how you got started with People's Trust, but what you did before that.
Yes, absolutely. I think one of my famous lines that I always start with agents when we have group meetings and things is I probably know the least about insurance than anyone in the room. So that's my claim to fame in general. My background is not insurance. My background is computers, processing, systems. I've been doing that since, when I was in England, I started my own business and have only ever worked for one company in my life, and that has been People's Trust. Everything else was from an entrepreneurial perspective. I had my own businesses. So a little bit of a different situation. I think it started in 2017 when I was approached by George Schaefer, the CEO of People's Trust, who knew me through some mutual friends, and suggested that I came and interviewed for a job that I had no idea what it was for, which was agency sales director, and said to me that he would like me to join. And I said to him, it's great, but I don't really have any insurance experience or anything else. And so Tom Gallagher, who I'm sure you know, the ex-CFO of Florida, was also a part of our team. And he said, well, before you can start, you obviously have to get a license. So I went and got the license, my 440, and then came back to see George. And he said, right, let's start. And I explained that I, again, really didn't have any background in insurance. And he said that's what he wanted. He was looking for someone that didn't have any experience in the insurance industry to try and do things a little differently, which I think everyone knows that People's Trust does. And so that's where I joined the team in 2017 and have been there ever since.
Gotcha. And how long has People's Trust then, I might be putting you on the spot, been around?
Now you're really putting me on the spot. Yes, I have to actually think when that's not fair. I think it was So
it was before you.
Way before me.
Okay,
way before, five or so years before me. It was started by a gentleman called Mike Gold. Mike Gold founded the company. Wanted to have an insurance company that was different, and founded the company with the idea of the repair model, which everyone knows is what People's Trust is famous for. Mm-hmm. Lots of other carriers have started to copy us, so we know that
it's working.
It's definitely working in some way or another. And so he started the company, but unfortunately, 5 years after he started it, he passed away in the middle of the night. And George, being George, looked at this. He was just an investor at the time and said that he was going to move down to Florida and keep the business going. He didn't want 300 people to lose their jobs. And so he decided that he was going to run this. And that's what he's done ever since.
Yeah.
So another person who had no idea about the insurance industry came in and learned how to do it.
Gotcha.
Yes.
And I asked that question because I wanted, the insurance agents that are listening to the podcast to know that you're not a new company. So I think that's important for us because you've been through several seasons. And, you're still here.
I think this is our 17th year, if I'm not mistaken. At least I do know that our controller just had his 17th anniversary at the company. So I think that Joel, that's who's been there. So I do think that that's how long it's been. So it's either 17, 16 or 15 years. But we're coming up to our 18th anniversary next December. I know because George has a big party planned.
Oh, there you go. So yes, no, not a brand new company.
No, not at all.
So we're, primarily focused on talking with insurance agents listening to the podcast. When we think about People's Trust, why do you think that agents should choose People's Trust over, some of our other competitors? What makes you a little bit unique and different for?
Well, I think, first of all, it's the way we handle our marketing team. We don't actually have a marketing team that goes out and sees other agents because we don't believe that it's fair to intrude on the agent and require them to sit with us for 2 hours every now and again and waste their time and go into the office and look at numbers and see the way things work. And so from the pandemic, we sort of changed around the way that People's Trust does the agency marketing type of deal with other agencies. And what we do is we've created an agency advocacy group. And that's a team that I run. And there's a team of 12 people. And what their job is to get the policy on the books any way possible, as long as it's within the guidelines of People's Trust, obviously.
Yes.
And that means that they should and will do whatever it takes in order to get the policy approved, help the agent with anything missing, look up permits, look up previous issues if there have been, or try and help get the policy on the books. And I think that's something that differentiates us from other carriers, in so much as sometimes it's very black and white. Yes, we want the policy. No, we don't want the policy. Whereas with us, we're certainly looking to try and help and try and assist the agent in getting the policy on the books. Maybe there's something a little different about it. Maybe there's been a lapse of coverage for 50 days as opposed to 45 days or something else that we would take. And so we have what we call a customize and compromise situation where we're looking to try and help the agency get the policy approved by underwriting.
Yeah, and I will say from the agent perspective, it's nice to be able to pick up the phone and call and get someone on the phone to ask questions to when I might have a unique situation and, I'm not sure if it's going to fit the guidelines, so I call ahead of time. So I do like that because then you have a good group there. And your system is pretty user-friendly. So when I'm doing a quote in an application, I don't, always compare to Citizens. Citizens is like the most difficult system, and I understand why, but your interface with the agents is easy to use. So I do appreciate that.
Right. We've recently changed it. Recently, in the last year, we've switched our system to Slate, which is what we call it. And yes, we've had some teething troubles, but I think we're way past that now. And it seems to be a better system that's far more intuitive. We've noticed that as we onboard new agencies and in addition, new franchises as well, it seems to be a lot quicker for us to onboard them because the system is much more intuitive. So we're quite proud of that situation.
Yeah. You touched on the repairs. For the agents maybe that are newer to People's Trust, can you explain and elaborate what that is, especially when we're explaining that to clients?
Yes. So there is the ability, or we have an addendum to our policy. And what we can basically do is that we have something called the repair model, which means that for a discount and for a 5% discount, we will provide the repair on your policy. We find that a lot of older people like it because it means that they don't have to actually go out and find the contractors. And in times of big hurricanes, when there aren't that many contractors available, we're able to have a team of people who we've prepared and we've had up front and we have contracts with that allow us to get in there. And very regularly we hear about hurricanes, and during the hurricane, when repairs are happening, our contractors are often given cash and suggested, come to our house, fix our house, remove the tree from our house, and we'll give you cash. And the answer is no. We work for People's Trust, and if you have a People's Trust policy, then we can come see you, and that's a benefit that we have. So we certainly have that endorsement. It also gives you a 5% discount, but it does mean that we're not paying cash. We are going to repair the policy.
Right.
We also have the option now that you can remove that. And if you would like to remove that endorsement, then of course there's no 5% discount. But of course at that point you can choose to do who you want the repair to be done, and then we will settle with cash.
Yeah, and I do think that's a great feature because we've been through many hurricane seasons, and we see the contractors who come into Florida and they triple their prices, and homeowners are just unaware. So it's nice that you have a system that you go through, and that the homeowner could just kind of trust People's Trust that they're going to get someone in to do the repairs that are needed, and hopefully not be taken advantage of from those people that kind of just come in during that storm season.
Right, and all of our repairs come with a 3-year warranty. Which is usually larger than any warranty that any builder or any contractor is going to do.
I was not even aware of that, so that's good to know.
3-year warranty is with everything. So, and also what we like to do is that I like to stay involved in that. So we make sure our agents know that if they have an issue with a claim, or their client is having an issue with a claim, they should call us. They should call the advocacy group. Right. Because what we'll do is we'll escalate it. That means that I will walk across the hall to Dan Guilfoyle, and I will say to Dan Guilfoyle, there is an issue with this policy. Can you look into it further? At which point it's gone from one director to another director, and I'm going to call you back with a response. So if an agent has an issue, I'm going to answer that question. We're not going to leave it hanging. We're not going to tell you that we'll get back to you and look into it in 6 months or see what's going on. We want to look into it immediately because, as everyone knows, as claims escalate, it only causes more problems. So we want to try and get that claim resolved as quickly as possible. And so in general, what we do is that if an agent is calling, that there's an issue. We understand that. The agents know, obviously, when things are going wrong or feel that things are going wrong. And at that point, we'll look into it. We may not be able to give them the answer that the agent wants as far as coverage is concerned or something else, but at least we'll give them an answer that's satisfactory, that follows the rules, that follows guidelines, that follows OIR principles. And so we're able to justify to the agency what we're doing.
Right. And it's a great partnership. And it's a balance. You want to make the clients happy because they're the ones that own the policy.
Of course.
Yes, but at the same time, the agents, you were a very integral part of everything. So it's a good partnership. That I think that you guys do a great job of.
I like to tell my team that we have to be honest with agents. The agency and the agents, they have to face the front lines. They're facing the customers, and they don't always have good news to deliver. But at least if we're honest with them and explain to them how we got to that decision and why we got to that decision, and always be available to review the decision. So people are human, and sometimes they have a bad day, or sometimes they have a bad week and they make a mistake. So tell us and we'll review it, and we'll review it at the director level so that we can see whether there's an issue. And if there is, we're happy to go back and look at it and make a decision that's different if the agent feels so strongly that that's what it does. As I always tell agents, if it doesn't smell right, it doesn't seem right to you, then pick up the phone and tell me so that we can have a look at it.
Right. That's good to know. So People's Trust has expanded its product lines. I would like to know kind of the background on how that decision was made, and then we can touch on some of the different products that insurance agents have access to.
Well, many, many, many years ago, those of you who will remember and have been in the insurance industry for at least 3 or 4 years will remember that the market was a little bit tighter than those years ago. And one of the things that we looked at is that agents, when we close, so if we decided that an area is not suitable to sell in at the time or something else, we are a company that only sells insurance policies and homeowners insurance policies, and at that, Ep.3 or basic choice insurance policy in Florida. And so when we decide to close, that puts us out of sight and out of mind with agents. And so what I looked at was other ways to be able to have other products. We have a very large channel group. We have over 2,000 agencies that we have appointed with us. And each of those agents have customers. And just because we're closed, there are other products they can be able to sell. And one of the things that I was looking at and have spoken to other agencies about on many occasions was the retention of customers and how to keep a customer and what benefits are there to a customer that's going to stay with one agency, et cetera. Of course, the agent knows why there's a benefit. And so what we looked at was multi-policy. And to me, multi-policy is the epitome of how to keep a customer. And that is, don't just have one policy that they're going to change, and keep more policies, the auto policy, the house policy, the jewelry policy, the golf cart policy, the car policy, whatever it is. If you sell the customer more than one policy, the statistics show all over the place. Just enter into ChatGPT. How do you do it? I don't need to tell you where to find it. Just enter that in, and it'll tell you that the statistics show that there's a big increase in the stickiness of a customer when you sell them more than one policy. And I feel that's what we bring to the table is that we have a channel of agencies who we sell to and who we communicate with. And if I can provide them with extra value in that channel by bringing products that they don't necessarily have to go out and get appointed for and can come to us, and just because of the fact that they're a partner with People's Trust, they are automatically included and have the ability to sell these products at the same commission rates that any of their other competitors would have, and any other agency, then I'm bringing more value to the channel.
Yeah, and I don't want to go too fast over that, because I do want the listeners to understand that for the flood product, if we're using the People's Trust platform, the commission is the same whether or not we went to, say, Neptune, or if we went to People's Trust. And so I think that's an important fact for people to know, because sometimes when we utilize other platforms, we get a little bit less commission from that platform because we're not going direct. So that's really important for the listeners to understand.
Yes, so every agreement that we have with all the carriers that we work with say that an individual agency cannot go to the carrier and ask for a better rate than we're getting from them.
Yep.
So based on the volume that we're doing, we're able to secure those types of agreements. And we then say to the carrier that we need to be able to provide the same commission rate so that there is no question about it. You know, and there are other competitors in the flood industry. I won't mention any right or wrong names, but there are other competitors that have recently been reducing or changing their commission structure.
Yes.
So we will match any commission that is currently being received by agents. We will match. I will point out to you that a lot of agents think that they are getting the same commission and renewal commission from certain other companies, and it's just not the case.
Right.
So you should look carefully at your contract. We're going to ask you for a copy of that contract, and we will absolutely match it.
Yeah.
But and because of the fact that it's a FEMA rate, you're going to get the same FEMA rate or the same government rate from us, from any other carrier.
Right.
The huge difference between us and some other flood carriers out there that offer the FEMA program is that we do not use the same TPAs and the same insurance adjusters as the flood carrier does on purpose.
Right.
George actually made that decision very early on after he heard about rather disastrous situations happened in Tampa, where his own staff, who he has in another company, were not able to get any people out to look at their to look at the policy, to look at the issue with the claim. And George made the decision that we have to use other TPAs and other insurance adjusters so that we never come across that situation.
Right.
And we offer a better service than other carriers because of that.
Yeah, and I do like that platform. Again, it's super easy to use. I'm putting in the address, answer a couple questions, and it gives me all of the quotes at the same time. So I can print all of that and show the client those quotes. Or if I know which one they're going to, choose based on what we've already talked about, then I can just go right into that and bind it. So it's, again, really easy process for insurance agents.
Yeah, so I could probably explain that what we're talking about is our flood rater.
Yes, sorry.
And our flood rater is something that we're very proud of. It's again something that we've added. It's free for agencies to use. What it allows you to do is it allows an agent to put in an address and get a single and by entering one address, get up to 11 different flood quotes, including a FEMA rate, and then 10 other private carriers. We're shortly going to announce another 4 carriers that we're providing, including Lloyd's of London, that will be adding to that. And so it's a one-stop shop to be able to get your price for a flood quote.
Right.
We understand that flood is not necessarily the same as homeowners, especially in Florida when it comes to commissions and the premium rate, but it's something that often needs to be included. Whether it's because Citizens has decided that you have to have this with every policy, or whether you just want to be able to sell a second policy, this is a quick way of being able to get that.
Right. And you mentioned Tampa. I mean, they got hit with a double hurricane last year, and a lot of those homes were in X zones who don't need flood. But I always tell everybody, you need flood. I don't care where you're at in Florida, you need flood.
No question about it. An interesting statistic that I read, that every single state countrywide, that's 99% of all states in America have had a flood.
Wow.
At one point or another. Yeah. 99%. That's quite amazing. So, yes, it's something that you need to be aware of. And it's relatively cheap to be able to get it. So you're insuring, once again, your biggest asset, your house, and not to have... I can't tell you of horrific stories that we've seen, even from an insurance agent at one point, where we saw that an insurance agent submitted a claim for their mother's house, and 6 inches or a foot of the drywall all the way around the house had been removed, and no one could quite understand why until they went outside and saw the rising floodwater line.
Right.
And so they didn't have flood, and they were trying to make a claim against us, and it's just not the way it went. And needless to say, that agent is no longer appointed with us. But yes, there's always interesting stories when it comes to claims.
Yes. All right. So you expanded into the flood market to be able to do flood insurance for clients. What else have you expanded into?
So we haven't actually launched these yet. We're going to be launching them at the beginning of the new year. And when I say the beginning of the new year, on January 1st, we're ready to go. We're actually in beta testing now. We have agents using it right now. And that is, we have a life insurance product, which is interesting because we're not life insurance. And as a homeowner carrier, why would we do that? Well, it came to our attention, and we've had lots of other agents tell us that they don't have life appointments within their office, and it's a whole different ball game, and so it's much more complicated. I understood that, but the attractive thing to me was the 100% commission that you can get for selling a policy, as opposed to 10%, 11%, 8%, 9%. But there's a whole lot of different requirements and licensing that are needed. And so what we've done is we've partnered with Ladder Life. They're a California company. And what we've done is we've given agents the ability to add another policy, the stickier customer again, and add a second policy for life. And the way to do that is completely outsource it so that an agent that doesn't have a life appointment can do one of two things. They can either go online to our portal, the same portal where you would look for a flood quote, and they can enter a name and an email address, and automatically the customer will then be emailed a form, which then allows them to get an instant quote. The agency can watch what I call the pizza tracker to be able to see where the customer is in the application form. If the customer has any questions, they call the special hotline that we have that's got licensed insured agents working. Again, what I would say that we're looking at and what we've been doing from an integration perspective is integrating more tightly with some agencies who are more technology focused and more advanced technologically wise, so that they can automate some of these things. Again, this agency doesn't have any life representatives, doesn't have any life agents, but they don't need to. They're very large. They sell, over 1,000 policies a week. They're doing a lot, and so this allows them to be able to offer second and third policies, which again makes stickier customers, and that's why they like what we're doing.
Yeah. So what's in the future for People's Trust? What do you think product-wise you might venture into?
Well, product-wise, so we haven't announced, which we will be doing again at the beginning of January. We have an agreement with Jewelers Mutual so that any agent that isn't appointed with Jewelers Mutual can come through our system and get a quote and be able to get, again, the same commissions as they were getting before.
Do they have alcohol collection insurance?
Yes, they do. They have lots of alcohol collection with specifically whiskey.
Yes, good. Good to know.
You know, I read about this. I was wondering why insurance agents like to drink. I've noticed that. And so I decided to look into it a little bit. And I think I've established what the answer is. The very, very, very first insurance policy that ever existed. Do you know what it was?
No, I don't.
So it was an insurance policy for a ship that was traveling from England to America and had alcohol on it. So they needed to insure, or they wanted to insure the alcohol.
Right.
And so I think that's where the close association with insurance agents and alcohol comes from.
You know, constantly talking about the trends and the prices, specifically on whiskey. We've talked about that. But people don't always understand that that's not included in your homeowner's policy 99% of the time. And so I put that little comment in there, and they're like, oh, I just called my agent, and they said, and I was like, why didn't I say I can help you with that? Instead of just saying it's not included, then they're going and calling someone else after that. I'm like, oh, missed opportunity.
Yes, you have to keep your eye out for that. I see you do lots of posts regularly on
how much
LinkedIn.
I drink alcohol.
And how much you drink alcohol, and also that you're an insurance agent.
Yes. So Jewelers Mutual coming. That's awesome. Life insurance, another product that just makes it easy for us insurance agents to, like you said, the stickiness of the client. So those are great. Anything else?
Well, a little bit on the technology front. We are releasing what we call a plugin. So those of you who are familiar enough with computers,
not techie at all.
Not techie. So we'll give you a really simple explanation for this. You have a web browser, and in your web browser, you've got some buttons that let you do some custom things. So we have something that adds an extra button to your Chrome browser that on any page that you are on grabs the address and sends it to give a quote. So, for example, let's say that you were doing a HO6 quote with another carrier, because obviously you can't quote with People's Trust. We do not offer HO6. And let's say you were quoting with them and you needed a flood quote at the same time. You can then just push the button at the top of the browser, and it will then ask you, what would you like to quote it for? Pet or jewelry or flood. And it will then send it to us and give you back your quotes without needing to do anything else.
Wow.
So it grabs all addresses on the screen, lets you select which one you want, lets you select the coverages, and instantly does it. Again, the idea being, you're talking to the customer says, well, I don't know, I might want a flood quote. Well, here's the range it's going to be, and you can immediately give them those answers without having to wait and having to retype everything. So we've been working on that. That way it allows us to integrate with all of the carriers, And so as you're giving a quote, whether it's for life insurance or health insurance or something else, you can immediately bridge over and also give them a quote for some of the other products that we offer.
Very cool. Technologies can really help us in many ways, just quicker, more efficient for our clients. So that's really cool.
Yes.
So you're in insurance all the time. From an agency perspective, we don't always get to see future trends, things like that. Can you share with me maybe some thoughts of what you see the future of insurance? What does it look like for us?
Yes. So what does the future look like? Well, we all hope and we all pray that prices are going to come down. And they are starting to come down a little bit. I think that I know this is a strange thing to say, but the fact that there were no hurricanes this year didn't help from that perspective that you might not ordinarily think about. So when you look at reinsurers and you understand that People's Trust has reinsurers, a number of different reinsurers, I think it's 20 or 25 at last count that we use each year, that we buy coverage from, so that in the event of a storm, we also have coverage, and so we're able to pay claims, etc. And sometimes those haven't been fleshed out completely, and so when we reduce the pricing and when we say that because of the new reforms that have happened from Tallahassee, and because of some of the changes, that things are getting better. And we absolutely do see that from the lawsuit perspective, but reinsurers actually have to test that those things aren't working and have to see the results of that. And when you don't have hurricanes, it's hard to be able to test that those things are actually, so that new reforms are not generating more lawsuits, which we think we're seeing. And we're definitely seeing less of a lawsuit impact. But what does that actually play out with? And it doesn't help until the reinsurers see that, so that they're able to drop their pricing, knowing that we're not going to have as many lawsuits or as many claims as we did previously.
Right. No more roofers knocking on the door.
Yes.
Yeah, I still hear about it. Clients will call and they'll say, I tell them, do not sign anything. Let's talk about what they say after they visit you. So just making advocate for the clients.
It's interesting how they see it. I mean, we now see the situation whereby we will see people, or we'll see the claims adjusters who will knock on doors and try and grab claims and say that they will run all the claim, and then they tell them that they're insured with People's Trust, and they'll back off from it because they know they're not going to get a settlement from us, and it's not going to help to be able to fight with us, because at the end of the day, we're going to repair the policy, we're going to repair the property. We're not going to give you cash,
right?
And so it doesn't help when the contractors are trying to get cash. That's not something that's going to come from us, and so we feel that our policies have been very good in that perspective, and our rules have been very good with that perspective. And so we like to keep that up.
Good. Jonathan, if the listeners want to know more about People's Trust, what's the website they should go to?
For everything agency related, we're very simple. We keep it very easy. It's pti.agency. Just put that into your web browser. Everything you see there is related to agents. They're able to connect. They're able to contact us. They're able to connect with underwriting, send messages, order more calendars for the year. People's Trust is very proud. You've got your calendars.
I got my symbol calendar,
Excellent.
yes.
Excellent. If any other agents want more calendars to send to your clients.
Although I missed out on the cookies. I saw the cookie post.
Cookie for your posts.
Yes.
A cookie for your quotes.
Yeah.
That's something that we've been doing a lot of this year. It's
just fun.
Right, but we also see that a lot of other carriers are looking and pushing for sales, and it's sometimes not really reasonable to push for sales.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a price aspect to most of the insurance policies that you're selling, but there's also the customer service aspect. And so I always like to say that an agency, if there's a policy and there's maybe $100, $200, $300, maybe $400, $500 in the policy, depending on the total price of the policy, and an agent can necessarily suggest to one of their customers what would be a better place to put it. And if that's the case, you actually have to make sure that you're providing the customer service and you're providing the response so that they're getting that additional.
So if we're vouching for you, you better hold up on that end.
That's right, and that's what we look to do. Is that you scratch our back and we'll scratch yours, and you're putting us forward and suggesting that we're the better carrier in this instance, and so we need to provide you with better service and better support as an agent to give you the answers that you need, and that's what we push to do at People's Trust.
Awesome. Jonathan, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you for tuning in to the Renegade Insurance Podcast. If you would like more information, would like to join the Renegade Insurance family, go to renegadeinsurance.com today.